What is going on, everyone? Happy Sunday evening. Happy Monday morning if you are on the other side of the world. Welcome to the What is Truth podcast. I am your host, Weezy, and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. James Corbett. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a little cold over here, but other than that, it's all right. But I got to ask you, is that a real Marcus Aurelius quote from your intro there? Because
It's
I must admit, I
it's
haven't read all of the meditations, but that's an
it's
interesting
the
quote.
modern version. So if you get the traditional um, version, it's worded a little different. This is for the hip teens. But yeah, that's a real quote for sure in the
Cool.
in the modern translation.
Well, I'm vibing with it.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So it's been about a year and a half, I believe. I think it was September of 2023, if I'm not mistaken, when we last spoke. Great conversation. I was a little nervous. uh you know, you are someone that I've looked up to for many years. I am now proud to say that I am a proud Corbett Report member, and I encourage everyone to do the same. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Come on, y'all. If you got $1 a month, $12 a year, I mean, give it up for my man, James. But I wanted to pick your mind over a couple of subjects that have been niggling me, if you will.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, what are your thoughts on the climate here in the US from someone that's on the other side of the planet? I feel the whole elections with uh, President Trump is it's eerily reminiscent to 2008 with President Obama, and you did do
Mm,
a video on hopium,
mm.
but the sense, you're seeing a lot of people excited. You're seeing the inverse that of what happened in '08, where in '08 you had a lot of people that had voted Republican all their lives, all of a sudden vote Democrat for this hope and change that they thought was going to be coming. This time around, you're seeing a lot of people that voted Democrat all their lives, but this time, you know what? I'm going to hold my nose and I'm going to vote Republican because they're going to turn everything upside down. What are your thoughts on this, James?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. But first of all, I should preface all of this for your listeners who don't know me. I'm Canadian and I live in Japan, so I'm kind of doubly removed. But I'm not sure. Does that mean we're officially enemies now? Like we're at war or something? Oh, maybe not yet, but that's coming.
We may be cousins, you know, or or
Well, hey,
states.
hey, we
Yeah.
burnt your White House down in 1812. Don't make us do it again. Um, anyway, yeah, okay, craziness all around, right? And yeah, you put this in the right context because as anyone who was alive at the time remembers, 2008, hope and change, Obama, he's the Obama Messiah. He's going to change the world. And for people who don't remember that, I have some representative sample clips in my brief history of hopium episode where I show some of the absolute insanity, frothing at the mouth insanity that surrounded Obama at the time. I don't think people remember that these days, but yeah, there were people literally comparing him to Jesus, Superman, all this stuff, like just absolute craziness. But yeah, and to to a certain extent, it's understandable why people get worked up like this because out of dark times, out of craziness, here comes someone who's speaking my language, who's telling me what I want to hear. Yes, great. And the real genius of all of this is that over the at least past century of the refinement of the techniques of propaganda by which they sell you presidential candidates like they sell tubes of toothpaste, they have learned the lesson not to promise too many specifics, not to get too much bogged down in the details of what this actually means. That's why the brilliance of Obama's Hope and Change campaign was literally just the words hope, change. I like hope. I'm for change. That must be me. And then people will project anything they want onto those words and then support it. And then once you get people to buy into a political candidate with their identity, then it's game over because that person can then do anything. And as Trump remarked, I believe, in his first administration, I could shoot someone in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue and I'd still have my supporters. And it's absolutely true, as I think we can all understand right now. So, look, I'm going to be the poo-pooer for people who are on that particular hope and change bandwagon at the moment. But I'm going to do it in the smartest way I can, because the very people who need to hear the argument against the hope and change narrative, at least at this moment, are the ones who are going to be least inclined to listen to anything that I have to say or anyone else has to say on this. In the exact same way, if you were in 2008-9 saying, you guys don't get it, Obama is not your friend, this is not going to work out well, might as well be talking to a brick wall. No one wants to hear it. No one's going to listen. They're going to defend their hero. And eventually, after 4 years, after 8 years, a decade, 2 decades down the road, people might be able to look back and go, yeah, it wasn't quite what was promised, but we tried our best. So I'm going to try to give people an out. The people who have bought into Trump and change and who really think this is wonderful and everything's happening, I'm going to give you the out that you're going to need in order to do the mental calculation in your head that you were right, and you were right all along. Even when you were wrong, you were right. And here's the out. The out is, you guys are right. Trump his heart is made of gold, and he bleeds red, white, and blue, and he loves you guys and wants to take care of you. And that's why he's doing all this. He took a bullet in the ear for you. He is there. He is God's chosen messenger on this planet. He loves you. He does everything out of the purity of spirit that we all know is such an integral part of the being that is Donald Trump, that has manifested himself in this world to be our guide and savior. Yes, you are right about all of that, 100%. But, and here's the but, there's a but coming, but unfortunately, somehow, Trump has been convinced by these outside people and forces. He's got some bad people trying to get into the seat of power. You know how these things happen. And those bad people are going to take advantage of the beautiful, pure, unadulterated awesomeness that is Donald Trump, and they're going to use his administration for bad things. So when bad things start to result from all of this, don't worry, you were right. You were right all along. Trump is great. It's wonderful that you supported him, but unfortunately, it's not going to work out for you. So now that I've put it in that context, now we can start talking about things like Elon Musk, the technocratic huckster, who is literally doing exactly what the World Economic Forum and all of those stooges, Bilderberg and everyone else, has been talking about for years now, which is rebuilding trust in government. Now, I hope people really understand what that phrase means, because you might think, oh, rebuilding trust in government, when Klaus Schwab goes up there and says, we need to rebuild trust in government, he's talking in that old Biden paradigm. It was all the demon rats and all those types of characters, right? He wants to get people to trust in the Harris or whoever the next, Democrat savior is. But Trump's the wrecking ball, and he's changing all of that. No, the real way that you rebuild trust in government is you take some paper tiger that you created out of nothing, like, say, the woke transgender bathroom hysteria nonsense debates. Oh my God, this is the heart of the New World Order, guys. The entire system of control that's been erected over generations, centuries, millennia, has all been about DEI, woke transgender bathroom policies. And now Trump's getting rid of that. Therefore, you can trust government again, guys, and you can be on board with government and what they're doing. And look, Elon Musk has gotten rid of USAID. Well, okay, he's kind of moved it into the State Department, and the CIA is going to continue doing whatever they do. But don't worry about that, guys. Trust in your government. Yes, they're going to do this. And here's the real, the devil in the details. How are they going to do this? How are they going to audit all of these different agencies and make their cuts? And finally, they're getting rid of all this government waste. Yay. By bringing in the tech guys, the tech gurus, with their technocratic knowledge to put the AI algorithms to work on the payment system at the US Treasury and other such things. Get rid of humans, put more algorithms in charge, and 19-year-olds who are programming the algorithms at the behest of people like Elon Musk. Don't worry about those details. Anyway, what we need is to rebuild trust in government by erecting a technocracy and be ruled over by the AI algorithms. And hey, wouldn't you know it, Joe Rogan was just a few weeks ago just talking to a guest. It's pretty crazy, but I think the AI will do a better job of running the country than politicians. It's where it's going. This is being seeded into the public consciousness right now. And here's the thing that always gets me. I always think, no. I'm too cynical and smart for this now. I know that when the technocracy really arrives and they really start setting it up and they really start putting the AI algorithms in charge of governing people and they really start making the technocratic ideal true, people are going to go, whoa, no, wait, no, I know Musk is a technocratic huckster. I know Larry Ellison is a CIA stooge. I know that Sam Altman and OpenAI and all of this craziness is bad news. And I'm going to see through it. But no, every single time they managed to do exactly what they were telling you what they were going to do, exactly what I've been warning about. And when it happens, people applaud and cheer and ask for more. Yay! Musk and the technocrats are coming in to save us. Yay! Technocracy, woo! It's wild to see that essentially I've been breathing hot air for years and years and years. And the people who pretended that they understood what I was talking about, pretended to understand what the issues were, once they get caught up in the Trump and change, they go 100% on board. So I'm giving people the out. It's not about Trump. He's wonderful. He's pure. He's great. He's being steered in the wrong direction by these technocrat guys. So let's pay attention to what these guys are doing on the sides there. The Stargate $500 billion and Larry Ellison and Sam Altman and Elon Musk. Maybe we should pay attention to what these guys are doing.
Well put. There's a meme that I think encapsulates, basically what you just said. Here we go. So there's a picture of Klaus Schwab and a mad MAGA man saying vaccines, chip, robots, digital money. Never. Then you have in the bottom Elon Musk and Trump. Vaccines, chip, robots, digital money. Yeah, all right. Same shit.
You can't make it up. I mean, is there a more beautiful demonstration of the fact that, I mean, we're not much past the point of primates, and people will just see alpha males and they see the type of person that they like, and they will do whatever that person says is cool. Okay, they say that's cool, so I'm for it. But you see a Klaus Schwab and you immediately know, hell no, I don't want anything to do with that. It's the same thing with Bill Gates. Bill Gates says all of the stuff that Elon Musk says, but when he says it, oh God, what a dweeb. I don't like that guy. But when Elon Musk says it, wow, he's so cool. But when George Soros does these, nefarious operations working with Democrat governments in order to implement his billionaire fantasy, on the geopolitical level, obviously he's an evil tinkering maniac. But when Elon Musk does it, cool. Yeah. Whatever. Who cares about slave miners mining the cobalt and other minerals for Tesla? It's cool when he does it. Anyway, again, it's perfect. No, I'm glad those memes exist because I could ramble about this for days. But that image says it all.
Well, it's. I feel it's one of the greatest psyops ever pulled because it's super clever. I mean, you have to choose a damn side. You can't be in the middle. No, and it's always been like that, but I feel like it's just been so blatant this time around. And I did catch, as I do every week in and week out, your New World Next Week, and you guys did cover the USAID a little bit, and I noticed you said you had lots more to change or to say on it, and I would love to hear what you have to say on that. But earlier in the week, Joe Rogan had Mike Benz on the show. I don't know if you got to listen to that.
I did.
Episode. Perfect. Yeah. Let's talk about that because I did a show yesterday with Steve Poikonen of AM Wake Up, who views you as one of his greatest inspirations. So shout out to Steve. I'm sure he's watching or listening. But we broke it down, and one of the things we brought up was how I mean, some of the stuff he was bringing up, no question, wasteful spending, good stuff. I'm not crapping on that. But I quickly saw that it was 100% lopsided on one side. It wasn't going down both sides. And I even tweeted at Mr. Benz a couple of times. And of course I've got crickets and nothing, no response from him. When I brought up, I go, okay, that's great. Great job on what you're doing. But when are you going to bring up Steve Bannon and Cambridge Analytica. All the same shit that you were accusing the left was doing on propping up all these things and psyops and whatnot. That's exactly what Steve Bannon was doing for the Trump campaign. And then that's how magically QAnon was birthed out of. It is insane, but no mention of that. And I'm sure he'll never even bring it up. What are your thoughts on that, James?
You know what? Like you, I think there was a lot of good info that is now finally coming to light, and I am not going to poo-poo or denigrate that. There is good info, and someone like Mike Benz, he's got receipts and he can talk about it in great detail and good, show people the documents, get people to start looking for this. I think that is an important point on anyone's wake-up journey, and so I'm glad that this information is getting out there, and I'm not going to throw baby out with bathwater. But exactly as you say, yeah, okay, yeah, certainly there's a lot of corruption there, but how about what if we turn our view a little bit to the right? Do we see anything over there that might be corrupt? Obviously there are things that can be said that are not being said. But again, as I say, I think that was a good conversation. I will just point out that an awful lot of the stuff they were talking about is exactly the stuff I'll say the stuff I was talking about 7 years ago when I did my NGOs or the Deep State Trojan Horse video, where I talked about Zunzanillo, the social media app that they created in Cuba in order to try to foster up a revolution, or the hip hop musicians they were funding. I have all the documents and everything in there, but it wasn't like I was some wonderful, amazing researcher. It was stuff that was out there, and people who were paying attention can connect those dots. But again, I'm glad someone like Mike Benz is out there getting the word out to many people. Great. And I hope that starts people along the process of investigating. I just hope they don't stop investigating there. Oh, okay. See, it was all those evil demon rats. It's all them who have done everything. See, yes, you're right. The greatest psyop really, truly is the left-right psyop, because at its base, what it does is every single administration gets to set a slightly broader mandate for the next administration. And because it's always flipping from left to right, you get caught up. If you're on the left, you're over here. If you're on the right, you're over here. And every time you get in power, yay, see, this is it. And finally, things are working out and great. And then the other person goes in power and it's like, oh my God, they have too much power. And it's a ratchet because it keeps going up and up and up, but it'll never slip back down. It just keeps ratcheting up and up and up and up to the point where essentially, suddenly we have this executive order dictator who can do apparently anything. I mean, we'll see, I guess. We'll see if there is any actual judicial kickback against the types of things that are going on. Doesn't look like it so far. And the thing that blows my mind is exactly like with the Musk thing. If you put it in the context of, hey, he's hipster Gates, he's hipster Soros, maybe people can start to see, oh yes, if those people were doing this thing, it would be bad, but Musk is doing it, so I support it. It might, for the few people who actually have principles that they go on, that might get them thinking along those lines. In the same way, everything that Trump is doing right now is going to be used by the next D to get into power. And you think that's, if you're on the right side and, oh, I'm a Republican, yay, you are going to, in 4, 8, 12 years, whenever it is, whenever it eventually inevitably happens, oh my God, how can this Democrat wield so much power? Oh no. The other thing that I would say about that is that I think this particular manifestation of the left-right divide that has become so polarized around the culture war issues, I really, really do think this was a deliberately crafted strategy that was employed post 2008 global financial crisis. The collapse, the Lehman Brothers, all that, the $700 billion bailout. I don't know if people in this audience remember that. I certainly remember it. I had a video at the time about that bailout. And I remember at the time, $700 billion was an unimaginably large number at that time. My, how things have progressed in a couple of decades. Now that seems like small fries, but that was a mind-boggling number at the time. $700 billion. They're just going to, oh, okay, we'll just hand it out to the banks to make sure they stay up. And all these homeowners who are going underwater in the mortgages, screw them, right? And Yeah, you better believe people were out on the streets in mass against that. There were huge protests, unprecedented levels of protests, and people really, really, truly, deeply, profoundly upset about the idea of bailing out Wall Street. And as I've observed before, that created two movements. One, a populist movement on the left called Occupy, one, a populist movement on the right called the Tea Party, that both had at its base, when it started, at the core, had the same message, which was essentially, well, it's us versus Wall Street, and all the fat cats and all these Washington, swamp dwellers and all of this. This is why the drain the swamp and all of that appeals so much to people, because it's the language that was created, that was really forged in the crucible of that 2008 global financial collapse moment, and that was what brought people together from all walks of life, all classes, all races, all sides of the political aisle. They all agreed on that. And then, of course, it started to get more and more, the Tea Party, haha, oh, those Republicans, silly. Occupy, it's just a bunch of Democrat hippies. Yeah. And that's suddenly what became the national conversation in America and an international conversation was foisted upon the rest of the world. Now it's all about transgender bathrooms and drag queen story hour. This is the absolute key political issue of our lifetime, guys, and this is why we have to get out the vote and support our particular color. Amazing, beautiful, wonderful psyop. So yes, U.S. aid being exposed for the regime change operation matrix that it is, and all of the stupidity that went on underneath it, let alone the corruption, let alone all of the deep state tricks. That's great. Expose that, yes. But I just hope people don't stop once they get to a comfortable ledge in that rabbit hole that they're falling down. No, you got to keep going. You got to keep going, because there's more down at the bottom.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, I just feel like that's just the little treats. They're gonna throw you little treats to reel you in. That it works like a charm. It's just like with everything else. I mean, whether it's trying to get us away from using centralized platforms like a YouTube. They make YouTube so easy to use, all these cool little widgets here. And then if you want to use a more decentralized platform like an Odyssey, it's a little more bulky. It's a little harder to use. But these are the sacrifices we have to make. And so in a similar sense, what you just brought up, they're going to throw little bones out here, like, yeah, they're doing something about it. They're doing something about
you know what? Actually, let me pick up on what you just said, because there's a couple of things, the really interesting things we can mine from that. One is, YouTube's got all the bells and whistles, and it's the easiest thing, and it's the infrastructure's there and the network effect, so it's already got bajillions of people on it, and so it's a place, if you want to get your message out, you better be on YouTube. Oh, well, I guess I don't want to get my message out. Or they don't want me to get my message out, more to the point. But no, let's look at one of the specific bells and whistles that still, to this day, makes YouTube better objectively than its competitors, which is the automatic subtitles. What an amazing, wonderful thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, I would love to know about it, but all of the other various platforms I use, Odyssey and BitChute and Rumble and Rockfin and Archive and all of that, none of them got an SRT upload function, as far as I know. SRT are the subtitle files that you can create that will have, essentially, you turn on the closed captions and it'll show the subtitles in English, in whatever language. And YouTube, at least back in the day, I don't know anymore because I haven't been on in years, but when I was back in my day, they used to have the ability for you to upload your SRT files. And I would have people that would create subtitles for my videos in Dutch and Portuguese and Klingon, I don't know, whatever. And I could just upload them and they'd be available for people to read, right? Wonderful, amazing option. But there was another aspect to that is still to this day mind-blowing, which was pioneered on YouTube back in 2000, I want to say 2014 or so. They started the automatic captioning. The speech recognition. It would listen to the whatever speech was going on and it would put words on the screen, right? And I remember when they first introduced that feature and I turned it on and it was like it was just for laughs at that point because the speech recognition was so atrociously bad. You would just turn it on just to see what kind of gibberish the machines would come up with. Ha ha ha, look at that. But at the same time, Google had this thing called Google Voice, which was I never used it, so I don't know, but I guess it was some kind of like voice messaging system that don't worry guys, Google will be your voice messenger. People can leave you messages. It'll email you through your Gmail when they leave you a message, whatever it was, right? To get people hooked in. And oh, by the way, they were using all those voice calls and everything to fine tune and to automate their speech recognition and transcription, right? And so I noticed within the space of maybe a year, maybe 2 years, it went from me turning on those automatic closed captions to have a laugh, what nonsense, to suddenly, oh, it's hearing absolutely every word perfectly. In fact, sometimes I will have to turn on the automatic closed captions because even for me, an English speaker, I'm like, I can't quite hear what that word was. It was a bit muffled, but it'll have it in the transcript and it'll be the right word. And wow, that's crazy. How did that happen? Oh, because of course they were using everyone's data and feeding that into their AI monstrosity. And as soon as they got it to a working level, as far as I know, they canned Google Voice. It doesn't exist anymore. It's like, no, we got what we needed out of this. If you're not paying for it, you're the product, right? As they say. So that is how they provide you the convenience. They use you and use your time, energy, labor, whatever, resources, and then they package that up in some way that they give you a little cookie crumb of that. And by the way, now they have these large language models and these AI things that are taking over the earth and getting bajillions of dollars of investment money and $500 billion Stargate funding and all of that as a result. So that's the real price for convenience. It's so convenient for me to be able to turn on those automatic closed captions. Why doesn't BitChute or Rumble or one of these, why don't they just do that? Well, maybe they don't have the infrastructure of a Google in order to do that. And maybe if they did, that might be a problem in and of itself, right? But don't worry, guys, it's kind of democratizing because now a Substack, for example, when I upload videos there, it'll auto transcribe because now everybody has this kind of automatic captioning AI speech recognition going on. There's a million services that can do it now, so it's all right. But anyway, that's the convenience. Having said that, I will make the argument that the argument from, yeah, okay, that's all good and it's convenient and it's easy to use YouTube, but you shouldn't use that easy, convenient thing because this is purer or something like that. That is a losing argument every time. If we're talking about mass adoption and reaching the masses of people, saying use this inferior thing that kind of does what you want. You got to you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do the other thing. It won't be quite as good, but it's kind of the same thing. And anyway, it's purer. 99% of people are going to say, nah, I'm good. Thanks. I'm going to keep doing the YouTube thing. That's just the reality of if you want to reach people. And if you want the meme form of that argument, I don't watch Family Guy. I actually hated that show from the time it came out, but I have seen the compilations of little clips of Family Guy jokes on YouTube, and one of them is about Peter is learning. He wants to know more about government spying or surveillance or something, and I can't remember. There's like this fairy or something that's like going to tell him all these secrets of the government, and he's like, okay, in order to know the truth, all you have to do is download Tor and then put on a VPN, and you have to connect through the and then Peter just kills him instantly. He's like, too much work. I think that is what we're dealing with. So really, I mean, the true solution to this isn't just to poo-poo the YouTubes and the things, oh, it's easy and convenient. No, come on, do this slightly less convenient thing that's a bit more cumbersome. It really is incumbent on people who see the problem to create something that is as flashy, as cool, as convenient as the alternative. Otherwise, you're simply not going to get mass adoption. That's just the truth.
Yeah, on that topic of AI, I did want to bring up a couple of things. Where do you see everything going? Because lately I've been getting these video recommendations, especially on Facebook. I don't really use Facebook. I don't use it at all, really. I just keep it to stay connected with family. Really, that's about it. But as I'm scrolling down, I've been getting these little recommended video clips, and it's mostly been humans helping animals. And most of them I can tell, you can tell right away it's AI generated. But there's been a couple I'm like, holy shit,
Mm,
this looks real. And the only way I've been able to tell, look at it is just like an arm will all of a sudden disappear or morph into
yeah.
something different.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
really the only way I've been able to tell that it's
yeah,
AI. But then
yeah,
I'm just looking at the comments, and these things get like hundreds and hundreds of
yeah,
thousands of
yeah,
views.
yeah,
And everyone's like, oh, I'm so happy that the humans are helping these animals.
yeah.
And it seems, just this is unscientific, just based on what I'm
Mhm,
looking at, it seems like a lot of people are falling for even this shit. So what's going to happen when these
mhm,
things get to the point where even the people that are looking for the fakeness in it can't even
yeah.
tell anymore?
You know,
What?
yeah, that's a good point. It's a good question, but I will just throw in the caveat that I think the hundreds of thousands of views and a lot of the comments are themselves bot generated. So I would not, I would not trust that that is the authentic reaction of literally hundreds of thousands of people. It's a particular problem on Facebook, from what I understand. And yeah, let me throw in the caveat: I'm not on Facebook, never have been. I don't know if you've heard, but the Corbett Report is not on Facebook. There's even a song about that. But uh, so I get this all from secondhand and reporting and what have you. But from what I understand, Facebook has gone really hard in on AI generated content in recent years, and apparently there's weird, inexplicable meme things that pop up on Facebook, and apparently are really common there, like lobster Jesus or something. There's like some kind of weird like AI art thing with like his holy crustacean or whatever, and all the comments are just like blessed be, or oh rejoice, or like all these like weird. And apparently the art is AI generated, the responses are all bots. Like it's just, what is this anymore? For people who haven't heard of dead internet theory, now is a good time to look into it. The idea that most of what you see, read, interact with online these days are not authentic human beings. They're bots in one way or another. Anyway, so that all being said, yeah, but still, you do point out the really truly evident reality that AI generated images and video is getting better and better and better. And yes, of course, there's always the tells and the like. I think I know this isn't real at this point, but but let's keep in mind things that we can talk about from the past that we know existed. And I'm not going to have the receipts on this to back it up off the top of my head, but I know there was an article, I want to say a Wired article from the late 1990s. I want to say. Anyway, I have looked this. I have this in the show notes of some questions for Corbett or something. If I can dig it up again, I will. But there was an article talking about the uh, again, I want to say it was a Pentagon presentation that was being delivered about real-time video editing capabilities that were possible back at that time in the 1990s. And this had been developed, I guess, with help of Hollywood and what have you, for their purposes. But essentially, the demonstration, I think, if I remember correctly, the demonstration involved something about uh like an ice skater, a figure skater or something, and there's like a scene of a figure skater skating by the camera or something, and in real time they were able to change the color of the figure skater's dress or the background or something like that. Like they could change it from a daytime setting to a nighttime setting or whatever, and all the shadows and everything else, the lighting and everything would adjust perfectly, and they could do that in real time. And this was back in the 1990s. And I was I recall presenting this information in the context at the time of, hey, they were capable of real-time video editing in the 1990s, and what can we really believe about things that we saw on TV and 9/11 and what have you, was kind of the point. But at any rate, I would make the same argument with regards to the AI video. Yeah, of course, everyone can think of that YouTube video they saw or that Facebook post where it's like, oh yeah, that's clear. Like I can see the weird whatever's going on with that person's hands, like that. Yeah, that's AI. But do you think it might just be possible that behind the scenes, in the Pentagon, in the bowels of the Pentagon, maybe they have a slightly better generation of AI model creation that maybe looks a little bit more realistic? Maybe it already exists. Maybe that we just don't get it at our level of information awareness. Anyway, I'll just put that as a potential thought in the minds of people who have never thought about that before. But yeah, who knows what is really possible even right now.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm with you. I'm sure they have things that are far far ahead than what's available to the general public. 100%. I did. So I've had some questions now, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, on Julian Assange. You know, for the longest time, I was an ardent pusher. Free Assange. Free, hashtag free Assange. Free Assange. Free Assange. And then he gets out, and things just started getting weird for me, man. And the fact that there's been no video conference or nothing, I'm starting to feel like I was duped. Like like what's really going on? So I'd love to get your thoughts on Julian Assange, if I may.
People who want my thoughts on that, they can search Assange on my site and they'll find, for example, I did a questions for Corbett, what's your take on Assange, etc. So I've talked about this in some detail before. Me being me, I have been cynical and skeptical about the Julian Assange character for a long time. And I will put some caveats on that. So I will place this in the context of the Afghan war logs and other things that started to come out where essentially the WikiLeaks model turned to, we're going to partner with all of these mainstream media institutions, the Guardian and the Globe and the New York Times and whatever the German one is, Der Spiegel, and all these mainstream liars to make it more of a journalistic enterprise. And, each country will publish, diplomatic cables that have to do with their own place so they can do the reporting on it. I get the concept and the theory of it, but it always kind of stuck in my craw that, this guy is going to blow open the doors and totally, expose all the secrets, is essentially vetting all of the information through the legacy establishment dinosaur media that is just mouthpieces for the CIA anyway. There's something that doesn't quite seem right about that. And then, of course, his infamous comments on 9/11 that there was no conspiracy and whatever. I'm not going to misquote him. I don't remember, but it was to the effect of how much he hates the 9/11 truthers, et cetera, et cetera. So I've had my misgivings about Assange for a while. Having said that, I do think that the right thing to have advocated throughout the time of Assange's captivity was free Assange, not necessarily because Assange is a pure character here who's exactly as portrayed, but because the precedent, of course, that they would set with an Assange, character or real or whatever he is the same precedent that they would then use as the legal precedent to prosecute any actual, true, real would-be whistleblowers in the future. So you have to support Assange, whatever he is, creation or not, in that legal context, which is why it's particularly interesting that ultimately what resulted, he pled guilty, right? It was a guilty plea. It was a plea deal, right? So in fact, yes, he is guilty of the crime of journalism, but they'll let him out, right? Okay, good. I get, I would even get if he is a genuine, true person who is exactly who he said he was and exactly, I would get after a decade or whatever it's been in isolation and captivity. Yeah, give me the document. I'll sign it, whatever. Just get me out of here. Yeah, I can understand that on the human level, but it seems like that could be a big L on the legal level, which to me, again, was the interesting part of that whole thing. It was about setting the precedent that whistleblowers and leakers, we can go after them. We can, the 1917 Espionage Act or whatever they're trying to get them under. See, it shows you're guilty for publishing information that was classified. That's what publishers have always done. That was the whole point of the Pentagon Papers and all those things. Remember, that was the whole point. Yes, publishers can do that. They absolutely can. They are not guilty of a crime for doing that. So, look, I'm not a legal expert. I don't play one on TV. Don't take legal advice from me. It just seems like that could be the bad precedent that we wanted to avoid, which was why people were campaigning for free Assange. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, and thank you for that. That was one thing I wanted to ask you for sure. So about a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I've been going down the Abraham Lincoln assassination. And what really got me going down that rabbit hole was the late great David McGowan, whom I've got the utmost respect for his work. And in studying his work, one of the things that you started to realize is that a lot of the things in our reality, to put it in the cool kids ways of putting things, are fake and gay. And you know, you point out the Gulf of Tonkin incident where you have a completely made up episode. I don't know. I'd love to get your thoughts on the Trump assassination. I did a show on that hours after it happened, and I was kind of nervous of doing it because you don't want to jump the gun, and maybe more information comes out. Now you're got to retract everything you said. But as soon as I saw those videos, I was like, man, nothing about this seems organic at all. It seems completely staged. Just the actions, not only of the president, but I mean, I froze the video at the exact frame before the first shot rings out, and there's literally, you can count 3 people with cell phones recording. In this day and age, everyone's recording at all times, and we never got those videos. Those videos would have caught the moment, and those videos are still yet to be found, maybe because they've been confiscated. But it's just, it seems like, when I first got into this, conspiracy realist thinking, I was like, well, not everything is a conspiracy, not everything is fake, but god damn, the more I've got into it, I'm like, my reality is I'm constantly just wondering what the hell is actually going on, because everything does seem a fake. Well, what are your thoughts on the whole Trump assassination, if you don't mind?
Well, I'm going to disappoint you to say I've never done the deep dive, analytical, detailed analysis of every frame of footage and what have you, because honestly, I don't care. And I know that's going to be a controversial take, but I really don't care, because I am very, very well aware of the fact that all of that political theater are, say it with me, the shadows on the cave wall. And everyone has to concentrate on what is going on the cave wall. Don't you ever dare look anywhere else. My God, the show on the cave wall is dynamite. It is lit this year. Wow, you got to keep both eyes peeled right on that wall. Don't take your eyes off it. And then when something happens, it's like, oh my God, I got to look even more closely and look at every frame. And was that a radio-controlled ear squib that, I don't know. Personally, I'm just not interested in getting into that level of detailed analysis with this, because it doesn't matter to me in any way, shape, or form. Having said that, I'll just take the 30,000-foot view on this. Either it was as portrayed, in which case, yes, clearly it was some sort of Oswald, whatever, deep state something, because obviously no guy with a gun's gonna get up with 100 feet and like, oh my God, and no one was prepared. Everything about it stinks to high heaven. So either it was some sort of deep state set up in that way, and who knows. What if the character that they set up in that state actually just couldn't do the job, or he actually did turn his head. Hey, it could be, I don't know, I don't rule it out. And in that case, it was a deep state operation that got foiled somehow or something. But it did give rise to the perfect image, the fight, 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 and all of that, the iconic. And now, of course, his supporters have even more juice in their blood to go, you see, God saved this man so that he could bring Elon Musk in to do Doge. That is God's will on earth at this moment, and don't you dare tell me otherwise, James. So
including Zuckerberg. Coming out, oh, he was such a badass. I'm supporting Trump now. I mean, I did mention that I've been going down the Lincoln assassination. That was something that happened.
That's honestly ago. That's more interesting to me. And I guess that kind of defeats what I just said about the shadows in the cave wall. But honestly, I am more interested in that story. I've done some light investigation on that, but I haven't done the deep dive on Lincoln. But clearly, I mean, it literally was a conspiracy, which most people don't know. It's like, it
Yeah.
was John Wilkes Booth, right? Well, yeah, but he literally was part of a broader conspiracy that never got all the way unraveled. And there's some craziness about how Booth got hunted down, and was that Booth who got shot? Really? Question mark. And
Yeah.
all this, yeah. There's a lot to unravel there. What sources have you been looking at, or how did
So
you
David McGowan's book on it, which you can find on my podcast player, I voiced over as an audiobook. He's the one that inspired me, because the amount of coincidences in that, and I think because he also wrote the book Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, of the 60s movement that was CIA backed to distract people from the Vietnam War. And so he relates it. Basically, the Abraham Lincoln book that he writes is to show you that no, these things aren't from the 60s, from the 50s. This shit goes way back further to the 1860s, where you had body doubles. You had all these, you had staged events. One of the plots, it wasn't just about kidnapping Lincoln or killing Lincoln. It was about kidnapping him at first, and then killing the Secretary of State Seward, which allegedly happened by this one guy that beat the shit out of nearly 10 people in a 30-room 3-story mansion. And if you look at the pictures, not a single scratch on him. None of the story makes sense. And if you look at the depositions, and so that's what McGowan is saying. He goes, I don't believe that attack ever happened. And one of the funny things, now that we're on the Trump thing, in the Lincoln assassination, Booth was a right-hander, and he was holding the knife with his left hand. He comes in, shoots Lincoln. The shot came from the back of the left ear and out his right eye, or lodged behind his right eye. And for historians, quote unquote, mainline historians, to try to justify it, because that would have been a tricky shot, because Lincoln was sitting up next to the wall. Lincoln turned his head at just the right moment, and that's what got him killed. In the Trump assassination, Trump turns his head at just the right moment and survives. Voila, what a miracle. He's the Messiah. So there's so many. This is why it's interesting. This is why the Lincoln assassination, you can point to so many things that have happened. I mean, in the Lincoln assassination, you had simultaneous attacks. You had Lincoln getting assassinated. The Secretary of State was supposed to be assassinated, Ulysses S. Grant, so on and so forth, just like in 9/11 when you had simultaneous attacks. So you can draw so many parallels.
But other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I will just insert a reference here for people. I did an editorial a week or two after that incident took place, called a brief history of presidential assassinations. I think that was the title. People can check that. But anyway, I had a bunch of different examples. Lincoln was one of those. And I believe the source that I cited, one of the primary sources I cited, was Covert Action Magazine, which had a good, extensive, detailed list of some interesting parts of that Lincoln story that I suggest people at least check that out, because they have links back to some of the original 19th century documents and exposés and biographies and obscure places where a lot of this information comes from. Anyway, for people who don't know, the Lincoln assassination was a crazy, weird conspiracy rabbit hole that I'm sure people could spend years, if not decades of their life falling down, like every high-profile presidential assassination. Name me one that didn't stink in some way. That, as I pointed out in that article, there's so many crazy things. One that people don't remember these days that they probably should was the Reagan attempt in 1980. Sean Hinckley, because he loved Jodie Foster or something, whatever. Who cares? Oh, and his brother was meeting with George Bush's son later that day, and there is none of these events that you can open that isn't just this can of worms. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. And just to wrap things up, we're coming up on time. The Lincoln assassination, I've called myself now a self-style Lincoln assassination researcher. I've read goddamn near 10 books on it, and official story ones, some more on the conspiratorial, because I want to take it all in. I don't want to just get confirmation bias. And the more I've gone in, I'm like, man, I just, even though when I hear other people or lecturers giving talks, I'm like, that's bullshit. That's speculation. What you're saying, I feel like that's where I'm at with it, but I still don't know what really happened. It's gonna be one of those things that you will never really have the complete picture, and that's how I feel about all of history.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing of going back 160 years ago with.
Mm.
I mean, you think about with how COVID is going to be portrayed.
Mm. Yep.
30 years from now, 50 years.
Yep.
Oh, the world was in peril until these
Yep.
magical vaccines came
Yep.
out, and that
Yep.
saved humanity. You
And
can
that's
bet
why
your,
I
your
think it's
bottom
so
line.
important to stress, and something I try to stress a lot, is that people have to understand we are writing the history books of tomorrow with our actions today. And I mean that, I guess, in the most literal sense as well. Yes, literally, the history that gets formed, that will be taught to future generations about what we are living through now, really depends right now, today, on how much of a fuss that we kick up against this mainstream narrative that's being formed and solidified into place. Because literally, that will be the way that the entire history of everything we're living through will be seen. Oh, yeah, there was this horrible, life-threatening event, and these wonderful vaccines came along, but these crazy people were against them. That will be the history book of tomorrow, unless we prevent that from happening. And the only way we can do that is to raise as much hell, raise as much stink as we can, to absolutely say hell no, and to not allow that to solidify into a narrative. Because as I have been at pains to stress for many years now, narrative truly is the number one thing that matters. What people believe, the way, the story that they tell to put these events into some sort of line and to make sense of them, that determines everything. That determines who they are, how they live, what they decide to do with their lives, the way that they act in their world, which is precisely why the entire apparatus of the international propaganda matrix is propped up by all of these, as as Mike Benz was talking about, and other people have been talking about, the $500 million here, $40 million there, $20 million there, that USAID, for example, was giving out to all these NGO media networks, the Internews Network and other such things. Like, yeah, of course, they're going to do everything they can to create and control the narrative, because that is the one ring through which they can rule you. And if they have a narrative that people believe in their hearts, they truly believe this life-threatening peril is coming to get them unless they get the vaccine, they will get the vaccine. And boom, you've got the hearts and minds of hundreds of millions, billions of people cemented into place. Yay, you win. That is what the ultimate struggle is about the narrative. So I hope people can, I'll keep banging my head against that wall until people really start to understand it. Because I know I hear a lot from people, oh, it's just talk. That's all people do. Go out and do something. You know what? Honestly, truly, the history books will not be written by the people who go out there with guns and shoot people's heads off. That is not going to do it. Because in the end, the people who control the narrative will get to determine whether those people who shot the other people's heads were freedom-fighting revolutionaries or horrible, evil revolutionaries. And that, and your kids and their kids and their kids' kids will either celebrate you and what you did, or they will revile you for all time. And it ain't you that gets to decide that. It's the people who write the narratives. The people who talk are the ones who decide the fate of the universe. And until people really understand that at the bottom of their hearts, we're in for some crazy times. May you live in interesting times.
Yeah, that's an understatement for sure. I mean, it's definitely going to get wilder, I believe, before it gets any calmer. Thank you so much, James. Always a treat. Always, I love your sarcasm. That's one of my favorite things. You crack me up, man. Especially the little voices. I'm always trying to do little voices on my show, and you're my inspiration for that as well. So,
I only got the fact checker voice, and I do a little bit of Klaus Schwab impersonation, but
yeah,
I need to get some more voices.
You got some great stuff, and as usual, people, don't try to find Mr. James Corbett on YouTube. Go to thecorbettreport.com and become a subscriber, as I have done. It's definitely money well spent. It's not going to break the bank, and if all of us chip in, it makes that a lot easier for James to keep on bringing these exquisite documentaries Your work on 9/11 is unmatched, in my opinion. I
Thank you.
love the work, and I'm excited for the new stuff that you're working on. Any plans on any World War II material?
I will just nod silently so that the AI transcript will not understand what is happening right now, but I will just give you the visual cue. And also, I have a very, very big announcement. As we were recording this live on Sunday night, I do have a very big announcement about something that's sitting on a desk behind me there, but I haven't publicly announced it yet. So it's just between me and the subscribers to the Corbett Report at this point. But very soon, people will know about a very big project I'm about to unleash upon the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, James. And can't wait till we do it again. And I'm sure we'll have lots of talk when we
Awesome.
do it. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too. All right, y'all.